naked tribes, forbidden languages, and rituals that will leave you speechless. The Zo'é live unclothed and practice rituals involving the dead. The Nahua shun the outside world like it's a curse. And the Amondawa don't even believe time exists. These are 15 of the most terrifying tribes hidden deep in the Amazon. Number 15, the Wari, cannibals of the Amazon River Basin. Imagine being served human flesh as a gesture of love and respect. For one of the Amazon's most feared tribes, this isn't a horror movie plot. It's a sacred tradition that has survived for centuries. The Wari people of Brazil's remote rainforest have earned a chilling reputation that makes even hardened explorers think twice about venturing into their territory. Behind their infamous practice of ritual cannibalism lies a complex culture with a deep spiritual connection to the act of consuming flesh. For the Wari, cannibalism is not a mere act of violence or a means of sustenance, but a sacred ritual imbued with profound spiritual significance. When a warrior consumes the flesh of a fallen enemy, it is believed that they are absorbing the strength, courage, and essence of their vanquished foe. This macabre practice is seen as a way of honoring the dead, ensuring that their spirit lives on within the body of the victor. In a world where strength and bravery are the ultimate virtues, the Wari's cannibalistic rituals serve as a powerful reminder of the depths of human devotion to these ideals. Shockingly, the Wari's cannibalistic practices extend beyond the consumption of enemies slain in battle. The tribe also engages in a form of endocannibalism, where the flesh of deceased members of their own community is consumed as part of a funerary ritual. To the Wari, this act is the ultimate expression of love and respect for the dead, a way of ensuring that their essence remains within the tribe and is not lost to the void of the afterlife. The consumption of the heart and liver is of particular importance, as these organs are believed to be the seat of the soul. As the modern world has encroached upon the Wari's ancestral lands, the tribe's cannibalistic practices have become increasingly rare. The influence of missionaries and the pressure of government authorities have forced the Wari to abandon many of their traditional ways, including the consumption of human flesh. However, despite these changes, the Wari still remains one of the scariest Amazon tribes you should avoid. Number 14, the Zo'é, naked warriors of the Brazilian Amazon. Imagine warriors so connected to nature that even clothing is seen as a weakness. The Zo'é tribe of Brazil's Amazon doesn't just survive in the jungle, they become one with it. Deep in the most treacherous reaches of the rainforest, these naked hunters stalk their prey with the silent deadliness of jaguars, their bodies adorned only with the marks of their kills and the scars of their initiation. The Zo'é are not merely surviving, they're thriving in ways that would break most modern humans. Their flesh, exposed to the jungle's elements, has become as tough as tree bark. Each warrior's body tells the story of their power, decorated with intricate tattoos of hunts and battles and pierced with the bones of their prey. Most striking are their lower lips, grotesquely stretched by razor-sharp monkey bones, a modification so painful that merely surviving the process marks them as warriors. This lip-piercing ritual, performed when warriors come of age, is perhaps the most brutal test of their endurance. Using sharpened spider monkey bones honed to needle-like points, tribal elders pierce the young warrior's lower lip without any form of pain relief. The initial piercing is just the beginning. Over months and years, increasingly larger bones are inserted into the wound, stretching the flesh until the lip can accommodate bones the size of a man's thumb. The process is agonizing. The constant pressure causes intense pain, and infections are common in the humid jungle environment. Many young warriors develop fevers that can last weeks, and some don't survive the ordeal. Those who do emerge forever changed. their distended lips marking them as warriors who have transcended ordinary human limitations of pain and endurance. From birth, Zo'é children are forged in nature's harshest crucible. Where others would coddle their young, the Zo'é expose theirs to the raw elements, believing that only through complete immersion in the jungle's dangers can true strength emerge. Their bare skin becomes their armor, their connection to the forest so deep that they can sense dangers before they materialize. The tribe's hunters are legendary for their ability to move through the jungle like living shadows, their naked bodies allowing them to slip through spaces that would snag and trap clothed intruders. They strike with devastating precision, using primitive weapons with a skill that makes modern technology seem clumsy and inferior. In their world, clothing isn't just unnecessary, it's a handicap that could mean the difference between life and death in the split second when prey becomes predator. Number 13, the Korubos, guardians of nature's harmony. Some say they can hear danger coming before it arrives. Others claim they can disappear into thin air. Meet the Korubos, the Amazon's ghost tribe that knows survival isn't just about strength, but about becoming invisible. In the savage borderlands between Brazil and Peru, where even seasoned explorers fear to tread, they rule the shadows like apex predators. Known by locals as caceteiros, the men of the clubs, for their massive wooden war clubs, the Korubos have earned a reputation that makes even government officials tremble. When Brazil once sent a contact team into their territory, 7 officials learned the crushing power of these weapons firsthand, found unconscious in the jungle. That single encounter was enough. The government quickly established a restricted zone around Korubo territory, where no outsider dares to enter. The Korubos aren't just surviving in the jungle, they're its living embodiment. Their hunters can track prey for days without leaving a trace, moving through the densest vegetation like smoke. Their senses have evolved beyond normal human capabilities. They can detect an intruder's heartbeat from yards away, feel the vibrations of approaching danger through their bare feet, and navigate in absolute darkness, as if guided by an internal compass. These shadow warriors have mastered weapons that most would consider primitive, but in their hands become instruments of lethal precision. Their war clubs, massive pieces of hardwood that can shatter bones with a single strike, are wielded with terrifying skill. Their traps are so ingeniously concealed that they've claimed countless unwary trespassers. The Korubos don't just set these traps, they become one with them, transforming entire sections of the rainforest into deadly mazes. The tribe's ability to vanish has become legendary among indigenous communities. Stories tell of entire Korubo hunting parties melting into the forest in seconds, leaving no trace of their existence. This isn't just a skill, its survival evolved to an art form. Number 12, the Mashco Piro, isolation and hostility in the Amazon. Imagine a people so determined to avoid contact with the outside world that they'll kill to maintain their isolation. This is the reality of the Mashco Piro, where survival means remaining untouched by time itself. In the dense jungles along the Peru-Brazil border, they emerge like phantoms, silent, lethal, and without mercy. Armed with 6-foot bows that can pierce a human body clean through, they've turned their territory into a no-man's land where even the most hardened explorers fear to tread. For centuries, they've painted their borders in blood, unleashing swift and brutal attacks on anyone who dares venture too close. Missionaries, loggers, tourists, all have felt the deadly sting of Mashco Piro arrows. Their message is written in violence. Approach us, and you may not live to regret it. Their hostility isn't mere savagery, it's sophisticated survival. As civilization creeps ever closer, bringing its plagues of disease and cultural destruction, the Mashco Piro have chosen a path of absolute isolation. Their attacks aren't random acts of violence, but calculated strikes designed to create a buffer zone of fear around their territory. In a world where most indigenous peoples have been forced to adapt or perish, the Mashco Piro have chosen a third option: complete and deadly separation from the modern world. Yet as the Amazon burns and shrinks around them, their isolation becomes increasingly precarious. Their territory, once vast and impenetrable, is being squeezed by illegal logging, drug trafficking, and resource exploitation. But rather than retreat, they've only grown more aggressive in defending what remains of their ancestral lands. For the Mashco Piro, there is no compromise, only survival or extinction. Number 11. The Shuar, headhunters and warriors of the Ecuadorian Amazon. They're called the shadow warriors of the Amazon, and their hunting grounds are stained with centuries of blood. The Shuar tribe's reputation makes even seasoned explorers turn back, and for good reason. In these remote depths of Ecuador's rainforest, their fierce warrior culture and the grim practice of headhunting have long been shrouded in mystery and legend. Yet, behind the sensationalized tales of savagery and violence lies a complex society with a rich history and a deep connection to the land they call home. The Shuar's warrior ethos is deeply ingrained in their culture, shaping every aspect of their lives from an early age. Children, both boys and girls, are subjected to rigorous training and initiation rites, designed to forge them into skilled fighters and hunters. The Shuar believe that the path of the warrior is a sacred calling, one that demands unwavering dedication, courage, and sacrifice. To fail in battle is to bring shame upon oneself and one's family, a fate worse than death itself. Central to the Shuar's warrior culture is the practice of headhunting, a grim ritual that has both fascinated and horrified outsiders for centuries. To the Shuar, the taking of an enemy's head is not merely an act of violence, but a means of harnessing the strength and power of the vanquished foe. The severed head is believed to contain the spirit of the fallen warrior, and by claiming it as a trophy, the Shuar seek to absorb that spirit and enhance their own prowess in battle. Yet, as the modern world encroaches upon the Shuar's ancestral lands, their way of life is increasingly under threat. The Ecuadorian government's efforts to integrate the tribe into mainstream society, coupled with the pressures of deforestation and resource extraction, have forced the Shuar to confront the realities of a rapidly changing world. Number 10. The Yanomami, a civilization on the brink. 30,000 strong and ready for war. When gold miners invade their land, they don't call the police, they don't file lawsuits. The Yanomami handle justice their own way, and they've been doing it successfully for centuries. In the borderlands between Brazil and Venezuela, they've built more than just a civilization. They've created an army of forest warriors who've sworn to protect the Amazon with their lives. Spread across 200 villages, the Yanomami aren't just South America's largest isolated tribe. They're its most formidable. From their towering shabonos that pierce the jungle canopy, they command a territory larger than many European countries. Each village is a fortress, each warrior a guardian of ancient knowledge that makes modern survival skills look primitive in comparison. The Yanomami's connection to the rainforest isn't just spiritual, it's tactical. Every plant is potential medicine or poison, every trail a potential ambush point, every river a highway for their swift and silent canoes. They've transformed their profound understanding of the forest into a weapon against those who would destroy it. When illegal miners poison their rivers with mercury, when loggers tear into their hunting grounds, the Yanomami respond with the full force of generations of warrior tradition. But now they face their greatest battle. As gold fever drives more invaders into their territory, the Yanomami are unleashing centuries of combat knowledge against modern greed. With bows that can pierce steel drums and blowguns that can deliver justice from impossible distances, they've proven time and again why they've remained unconquered for so long. Their message to the world is clear. Their land is not for sale, and those who try to take it will learn why the Yanomami have survived while other tribes have vanished. Number 9. The Yawalapiti, guardians of tradition in the Xingu. Deep in Brazil's Xingu National Park, where 14 tribes guard their ancestral lands, one stands out for their fierce devotion to tradition. The Yawalapiti don't just preserve their culture, they turn it into a weapon. In a protected sanctuary where ancient ways clash with modern threats, they've transformed their ceremonies into displays of power that echo through the rainforest like war drums. At the heart of Yawalapiti power lies the Korubo, their most sacred and spectacular ceremony. At its center stand towering wooden logs, each one carefully chosen and decorated to represent honored deceased leaders and warriors. These memorial logs become the focal point of a ritual that transforms the forest into an arena of raw cultural force. When the Korubo begins, the forest pulses with energy. Warriors emerge adorned in brilliantly feathered headdresses that tower above them like crowns of flame, their bodies painted with intricate designs in red and black, each pattern telling stories of battles won and enemies defeated. The thunderous rhythm of hundreds of feet pounding the earth sends vibrations for miles as they circle the memorial logs in precise, powerful movements. The air fills with war chants that have echoed through these lands for generations. Other tribes from across the Xingu journey to witness and participate, turning the ceremony into a massive display of indigenous unity and strength. For days or weeks, the forest resonates with their voices, the rhythmic beat of traditional drums, and the synchronized movements of warriors demonstrating their power and skill. But this isn't just a ceremony for ceremony's sake. In an era where indigenous cultures face extinction, the Yawalapiti have turned their traditions into a fortress. Every dance around the memorial logs is a declaration of survival, every chant a battle cry, every gathering a show of force. Through the Korubo, they honor their ancestors while displaying their current strength, transforming ancient wisdom into a shield against the encroaching modern world. The message to all who witness it is clear. The Yawalapiti's culture isn't just surviving, it's becoming more powerful with each passing generation. Number 8. The Munduruku, warriors of the Tapajos. When illegal miners threaten their sacred river, they don't negotiate. When dam builders invade their territory, they don't compromise. Meet the Munduruku, the Amazon's most feared defenders. Along the banks of the mighty Tapajos River, they've turned resistance into an art form and warfare into a sacred duty. Named after the Amazon's flesh-eating red ants, the Munduruku have earned their reputation one battle at a time. Like their tiny but lethal namesakes, they strike with devastating precision and overwhelming numbers. When illegal gold miners poison their rivers with mercury, the Munduruku don't file complaints. They launch raids that send the invaders fleeing into the night. When construction companies try to build dams that would drown their ancestral lands, they don't protest. They mobilize armies of warriors that make even government forces think twice. The Tapajos isn't just a river to the Munduruku, it's the source of their power. Every drop of its water flows through their veins, every fish in its depths is their kin, and every bend in its course is sacred ground that they've sworn to protect with their lives. They've transformed their profound connection to this ecosystem into a weapon, using their intimate knowledge of the terrain to outmaneuver and overwhelm any who dare threaten their homeland. But now, they face their greatest battle yet. As Brazil's government and powerful corporations eye the Tapajos region for its vast resources, the Munduruku are transforming their ancient warrior traditions into modern resistance. They've traded bows for legal documents, war paint for protest signs, but their legendary fighting spirit remains unchanged. Their message to the world is crystal clear. The Tapajos will remain free, or their enemies will learn why the Munduruku are called the Amazon's deadliest defenders. Number 7. The Nahua, secrets of the Peruvian Amazon. In an age when satellites can spot a single person from space, One tribe remains truly hidden. The Nahua have transformed their entire existence into an unsolvable riddle. Deep in Peru's Amazon, where the rainforest grows so thick that sunlight rarely touches the ground, they've mastered an art that modern civilization has forgotten: the ability to vanish completely. The few traces we have of the Nahua read like ghost stories told around campfires. Anthropologists find camps that seem to dissolve back into the forest within days. Linguists discover fragments of a language that defies all known patterns of human speech, words that seem to shift and change like the jungle itself. Their footprints appear in impossible places, only to vanish without a trace, as if the forest itself is conspiring to keep their secrets. But it's their mastery of invisibility that truly sets them apart. While other isolated tribes are spotted by drones or satellite imagery, the Nahua seem to bend the very rules of detection. Their shelters blend so perfectly with the canopy that they're invisible from above. Their hunting grounds leave no traces that even experienced trackers can follow. They move through the densest jungle-like shadows, using pathways that seem to exist in another dimension entirely. The Nahua haven't just adapted to the Amazon, they've become one with it in ways that challenge our understanding of human capabilities. Their tools, their techniques, and their very way of life represent an evolutionary path so different from our own that it forces us to question everything we thought we knew about human civilization. Number 6. The Awa, guardians of the forest. They hunt like jaguars but pray for their prey's souls. The Awa aren't just Amazon warriors. They're guardians of a sacred balance between life and death. Deep in Brazil's rainforest, they've mastered an art that most of humanity has forgotten: how to kill with both deadly precision and profound reverence. Every Awa hunt is both a physical and spiritual journey. Their arrows, crafted from materials the forest itself provides, fly with uncanny accuracy, guided by generations of ancestral knowledge. But before each arrow is loosed, a prayer rises through the canopy, not just for a successful hunt, but for the spirit of the animal they're about to take. The Awa don't just track their prey through the jungle, they communicate with it, understanding its movements as intimately as they understand their own heartbeat. From the highest branches where howler monkeys swing to the forest floor where tapirs leave their tracks, the Awa read the jungle like a sacred text. Their hunting grounds are also their temple, where every creature is both potential prey and spiritual kin. When they bring down a monkey from the canopy's heights or track a peccary through the underbrush, they don't just see meat. They see a spirit preparing to transform, to become part of their own living story. But what truly sets the Awa apart is what happens after the kill. Where other hunters might celebrate, they perform rituals of gratitude and spiritual transition. Each animal taken is honored as a sacrifice, its spirit acknowledged as a vital thread in the complex tapestry of forest life. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick. Rumors in Brazil speak of a dangerous, ingenious tribe known for their ability to disappear without a trace. Legends surround them, with stories of fierce, deadly attacks on tourists and explorers who cross their paths. Reports claim that those unfortunate enough to encounter them face brutal assaults, and that's not the worst of it. The tribe is said to be cannibalistic, with victims meeting a terrifying fate. What are your thoughts on this mysterious, dangerous tribe? Share your opinions in the comments. Number 5. The Amondawa, timeless wisdom in the Amazon. They don't count years. They don't track days. The Amondawa tribe has achieved what philosophers have dreamed of: complete liberation from time's tyranny. Their secret? They never invented it in the first place. Hidden in the most remote corners of the Brazilian Amazon, these remarkable people have accomplished something that modern civilization, with all its technology and knowledge, cannot begin to grasp: a life completely untethered from the construct of time. The Amondawa's world is one where minutes don't tick by and hours don't march forward. Instead, existence flows like the river that sustains them, sometimes fast, sometimes slow, but always in perfect rhythm with nature's own heartbeat. They don't wake to alarm clocks, but to the chorus of dawn birds. They don't schedule meetings, but gather when the sun reaches certain positions in the sky. Their calendar isn't marked by numbers, but by the blooming of specific flowers and the migration patterns of animals they've observed for generations. This isn't simply a different way of tracking time. It's a complete rejection of the very concept that dominates modern life. While we fragment our existence into seconds, minutes, and hours, racing against deadlines and fighting against schedules, the Amondawa move through life with a fluidity that modern humans have forgotten is possible. They measure life's pace by the ripening of fruit, the changing of leaves, and the intensity of sunlight filtering through the canopy. But perhaps most revolutionary is how this timeless existence has shaped their understanding of reality itself. In their language, there are no words for old or young, no concept of late or early. The Amondawa have discovered what quantum physicists are only beginning to theorize, that time might not be the fundamental force we assume it to be, but rather a human invention that chains us to artificial constraints. Number 4. The Piripkura, the last of the forgotten. 3 people. That's all that remains of the once mighty Piripkura tribe. A mother and her 2 daughters carry the weight of an entire civilization, one that will die with them. In the remote reaches of Brazil's Rondônia rainforest, they move like ghosts through their ancestral lands, the last voices who can speak their language, the final keepers of traditions that stretch back thousands of years. Their story isn't just about loss, it's about systematic destruction. In the 1980s, Piripkura's world ended in a single day of violence. Cattle ranchers, seeing their ancestral lands as nothing more than potential grazing fields, massacred nearly the entire tribe. The forest that had protected them for generations ran red with blood, and centuries of knowledge, stories, and traditions were silenced in hours. The handful who survived that brutal day faced a new kind of death, slow, relentless, and cruel. Cut off from their traditional hunting grounds and stripped of their resources, they watched their numbers dwindle year by year. Disease swept through their diminished ranks. Depression and despair claimed others. Each death took with it irreplaceable knowledge, healing practices, sacred rituals, ancient songs, until only 3 remained. Now, a mother and her daughters walk their ancestral paths alone. Every day, their native language grows quieter. Every year, more ceremonies are performed for the last time. They aren't just witnessing their culture's extinction, they're living it, breathing it, carrying the terminal diagnosis of an entire civilization. When they go, they'll take with them not just a family line, but an entire way of seeing and understanding the world that can never be recovered. Number 3. The Pirahã, the tribe without time. They have no word for tomorrow, no concept of yesterday. Meet the Pirahã, an Amazon tribe that has achieved what Buddhist monks spend lifetimes seeking: perfect presence. Along the winding Maichi River, they've unknowingly solved one of humanity's greatest philosophical puzzles: how to truly live in the now. The Pirahã's language isn't just different, it's revolutionary. While we burden our words with time, numbers, and abstractions, they speak a tongue that exists purely in the present moment. They have no words for colors, yet they see the forest more vividly than any outsider. They can't count past 2, yet they never lose track of what matters. Their language isn't primitive. It's stripped of everything that doesn't serve the eternal now. But this isn't just about language. It's about a fundamentally different way of being human. When a Pirahã hunter tracks prey through the jungle, they don't plan ahead or reflect on past hunts. They become one with the present moment, their senses alive to every sound, every movement, every subtle shift in the forest around them. When they gather to share stories, they don't speak of distant histories or future dreams. They talk about what is real and immediate, what can be touched, felt, and experienced right now. Number 2, the Kawahiva, nomads of the Amazon, facing extinction. They once roamed vast territories as lords of the jungle. Now, the remaining Kawahiva are refugees in their own land, forced to witness the death of not just their home, but their entire way of life. Deep within Brazil's shrinking Amazon, these last survivors of a once mighty tribe slip through the shadows of their ancestral lands like ghosts, their numbers so few they can barely fill a hunting party. The Kawahiva's story is one of brutal survival against impossible odds. Where once they commanded territories larger than some countries, today they're hunted by the mechanical roar of chainsaws and the constant advance of burning fields. Their population has crashed to fewer than a dozen individuals, each death bringing their entire culture closer to oblivion. For countless generations, these master hunters could read the forest like a map, tracking game through some of Earth's most impenetrable jungles. Their knowledge of the land was unmatched. Every plant, every animal movement, every seasonal change was woven into their understanding of survival. But now, that profound wisdom is becoming useless as their hunting grounds transform into wastelands of ash and stumps. The tragedy of the Kawahiva isn't just about land loss, it's about watching your entire world die around you. As illegal loggers and miners tear deeper into their territory, these last guardians of an ancient way of life are forced to abandon sacred grounds their ancestors protected for centuries. They move like shadows through what remains of their forest, knowing each dawn could be their culture's last. Their children will never know the territories their parents once ruled. Their language may die with the last elder, and their profound understanding of the Amazon might vanish forever into the smoke of burning rainforest. Number 1, the Nukak, the last of the nomads. They survived the Amazon for millennia, but nothing prepared them for their first contact with us. Meet the Nukak, a tribe that discovered civilization can kill faster than any jungle predator. In the shadowy depths of Colombia's rainforest, their story stands as a brutal testimony to what happens when ancient wisdom meets modern disease. For thousands of years, the Nukak mastered every challenge the Amazon could throw at them. They learned to dodge jaguars, avoid poisonous snakes, and find food in places where other humans would starve. Their nomadic lifestyle turned them into living shadows, moving through the jungle with a grace and knowledge that took generations to perfect. They didn't just survive in one of Earth's deadliest environments, they thrived in it. Then came 1988, and a decision that would doom their entire culture. 40 Nukak emerged from their forest sanctuary into the town of Calamar, carrying nothing but their hunting tools and their ancestral knowledge. They couldn't know they were walking into an invisible war their bodies had no way to fight. Within months, half of them were dead, killed not by the predators they knew how to avoid, but by common illnesses like flu and malaria that their immune systems had never encountered. The survivors now exist in a cruel limbo. Forced onto government reservations, these former masters of the jungle have become refugees in their own land. Their children will never learn to read the forest's secrets. Their elders' knowledge dies with each passing year. The Nukak's tragedy isn't just about numbers, it's about watching an entire way of being human vanish in the space of a single generation. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.